You might think your cat is just being distant, but a lot of their behavior is actually a response to things you're doing without realizing it. Most of these reactions don't start when your cat walks away. They start earlier, in small shifts that are easy to miss if you're not paying close attention. Number 1. Eye contact feels like pressure. One of the first things cats react to is direct eye contact. Holding their gaze for even a few seconds can change how they interpret your presence. In feline communication, eye contact carries intensity rather than comfort. Instead of signaling connection, it introduces a level of focus that feels closer to confrontation. You may notice your cat blinking slowly or turning their head away. That response is a way of lowering tension rather than building engagement. Some cats will stay where they are instead of moving away. But if you look closely, their posture no longer looks fully relaxed. Their body might stay still, but their awareness increases. That shift is subtle, but it changes how long they remain comfortable near you. Number 2. Petting too long changes the experience. Another common issue shows up during petting. What begins as a calm interaction can shift without any clear signal from your side. Cats have a sensory threshold that gets reached quickly. Once that threshold is crossed, the same touch begins to feel overwhelming. This doesn't happen suddenly from their perspective. Their body starts responding earlier than you might expect. You might see a slight flick in the tail or a small change in muscle tension. Those signals appear before any visible reaction like moving away. By the time your cat pulls back, the decision has already been made. The moment that mattered happened seconds before that. What feels like a sudden reaction is often just a delayed response. The buildup has already passed the point where your cat felt comfortable. Number 3. Interrupting their rest keeps them alert. Cats rely on short, repeated rest cycles to maintain balance. Those moments depend on feeling safe enough to lower their awareness. When they're disturbed during that state, their body shifts back into alertness. Even a small interruption changes how deeply they can relax in that space. You may not see a strong reaction when it happens, but their next choice often reflects it. A cat that keeps moving from one spot to another isn't always restless. Sometimes they're trying to find a place where they won't be disturbed. The difference shows up in how quickly they settle. If relaxation doesn't last, something about the environment feels uncertain. Over time, those small interruptions start influencing where they choose to rest. Certain areas begin to feel more reliable than others. Number 4. Sudden movement keeps them on edge. Cats are extremely sensitive to movement. Even small, unpredictable motion can change how they process their surroundings. This doesn't always create an obvious reaction. It shows up as a level of awareness that never fully drops. You might notice your cat watching more closely or staying slightly more alert. That behavior reflects a shift in how safe the environment feels. Fast or inconsistent movement makes it harder for them to predict what happens next. That unpredictability keeps their attention slightly elevated. A cat that stays alert isn't always reacting to something specific. They're responding to a pattern of movement that never fully settles. That's why some cats prefer higher spaces or positions with a clear view. It gives them more control over what they can see. Control reduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is what keeps their body from fully relaxing. Number 5. Changing their environment disrupts stability. Cats rely heavily on familiarity. Their environment is mapped through memory and reinforced through scent. That structure allows them to move confidently without hesitation. Everything has a place, even if it doesn't look organized to you. When something changes, even slightly, that structure shifts. Your cat pauses because the space no longer matches what they expect. This can show up as slower movement or brief hesitation. They may stop in areas they usually move through without thinking. Nothing appears different from your perspective. But for your cat, the environment feels less predictable. Some changes pass quickly. Others linger and subtly affect how your cat moves through the space. A room that no longer feels consistent gets treated differently. That difference changes how comfortable your cat feels being there. Number 6. Missing their signals changes how they communicate. Cats don't start with strong reactions. They begin with small signals that are easy to overlook. Tail movement, ear position, and slight posture changes come first. Those signals are their way of adjusting the interaction early. When those signals go unnoticed, the pattern changes. your cat stops relying on them. Instead of signaling step by step, they move straight to creating distance. The early communication disappears because it no longer affects the outcome. This is where behavior starts to feel unpredictable. But it's actually becoming more efficient from your cat's perspective. A cat that walks away quickly isn't reacting suddenly. They're skipping steps that haven't worked before. The behavior becomes shorter, faster, and more direct. That change reflects adaptation, not inconsistency. Number 6. Forcing interaction removes their control. Cats rely on controlling when interaction happens. That control plays a major role in how comfortable they feel. When interaction happens outside of their timing, the meaning changes. Even gentle contact can feel different when it isn't initiated by them. You may notice your cat becoming more selective about when they approach. That selectiveness is deliberate. They begin choosing moments that feel predictable and controlled. Those moments allow them to engage without uncertainty. A cat that seems less affectionate often isn't losing interest. It's adjusting how and when it chooses to interact. The difference shows up in timing, not intention. They still engage, just on their own terms. As you look at these behaviors together, a pattern starts to form. It becomes less about individual actions and more about how they connect. If you're starting to recognize some of these signs, it's worth paying attention to what your cat does next. Comment down below which one you've noticed and subscribe if you want to understand these patterns more clearly. When a cat avoids fully relaxing around you, it reflects something deeper than a simple preference. It shows how safe they feel in your presence over time. That sense of safety doesn't come from one moment. It builds gradually through repeated experiences. Each interaction adds to that overall impression. And small patterns tend to matter more than isolated events. If certain behaviors only appear when you're close, they're not general. They're specifically tied to how your cat interprets you. Once you start noticing these patterns, their behavior becomes easier to understand. What once felt unpredictable starts to follow a clear structure. And when that structure becomes visible, everything starts to make more sense. The reactions, the distance, and even the quiet moments all begin to connect. Subscribe if you want to keep learning what your cat is actually communicating, because the next video builds on this in a way that connects everything together.